They say the night hides more than shadows. It hides the truth.
Welcome to Mr. Haunting Whispers, where real crimes, true horrors, and restless spirits speak through the silence. Listen closely, because sometimes the whispers are real.
Fear doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits for you to speak first. A question asked out loud, a name whispered into the dark, a habit repeated so often it feels harmless, and then one night something responds. Tonight's confessions aren't about monsters in the shadows. They're about the moment people realized the silence was listening, and had been listening for a very long time. 6 voices, 6 answers, and every one of them wishes they'd never spoken. This is episode 8, What Answered Back. I've been walking through that tunnel for almost 3 years now. If you've ever lived in a city long enough, you know the kind I mean. Not a subway tunnel, not exactly a sewer either. Just a concrete underpass carved beneath old train tracks, built back when no one cared about lighting or aesthetics. It connects the east side of town to the bus depot, shaving 10 minutes off my walk home. 10 minutes doesn't sound like much, but at 2 in the morning, 10 minutes feels like mercy. My name is Marcus Hale. I'm 34, night shift warehouse supervisor, divorced, no kids, and painfully predictable. I walk the same route every night. I wear the same jacket. I stop at the same vending machine by the depot for a warm soda I don't even enjoy anymore. Routine keeps the mind quiet. The tunnel was part of that routine, and for a long time it was just empty. Damp walls, the distant hum of cars overhead, the sound of my boots echoing back at me in that hollow metallic way sound gets when it has nowhere else to go. If you're listening right now, I want you to think about this. When you hear your footsteps echo, do you ever wonder why they sound slightly off? Not wrong, just delayed. I never wondered, not until the night the tunnel answered me. It was a Wednesday. I remember that because Wednesdays are inventory nights, and I'd stayed late fixing a discrepancy I knew wouldn't matter by morning. By the time I clocked out, the streets were quiet in that dead, hollow way cities get after midnight. Not peaceful, just unattended. The tunnel entrance yawned open ahead of me, lit by a single flickering street lamp that never quite decided whether it wanted to stay on. I hesitated for half a second, not fear, just fatigue, then stepped inside. My footsteps echoed. Step, step, step. Halfway through, without really thinking about it, I muttered out loud, "Still alone, huh?" I don't know why I said it. Loneliness has a way of pretending it wants an audience. The echo came back almost immediately, but it didn't repeat what I said. It said, calmly, clearly, and close enough that my shoulders tensed, "Not anymore." I stopped walking. The echo stopped too. If you've never experienced true fear, it doesn't feel like screaming or panic. It feels like confusion, like your brain stalling, flipping through explanations too fast to land on any of them. Voices carry weird in tunnels, I told myself. Someone else must be walking behind me. So I did what rational people do when they're trying not to panic. I tested it. "Hello?" I called out, forcing my voice steady. The response came after a pause, long enough to feel deliberate. "Who's there?" I asked. Another pause. Then, "You walked in." My throat went dry, because that wasn't an answer. It was a correction. I laughed, a thin, brittle sound that scraped the walls. "Very funny," I said. "You can come out now." Nothing. I waited, counted my breaths. 1, 2, 3. Then softly from somewhere behind me, "You always talk when you're tired, Marcus." I hadn't said my name. I turned around. The tunnel was empty, long, straight, and fully visible end to end. No shadows moving, no second set of footsteps, just my reflection in a shallow puddle, warped by ripples I hadn't caused. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Instinctively, I checked it, hoping for something mundane, anything that could anchor me. No notifications, no missed calls, but the screen was unlocked, and in the Notes app, which I never use, was a single line of text: "Don't stop walking." I didn't. I walked the rest of the tunnel with my heart hammering so hard I thought it might drown out the sound behind me, because there were footsteps now, perfectly matched to mine, not chasing, not lagging, just accompanying. When I burst out the other side, I didn't look back. I didn't slow down until I was on the bus, surrounded by strangers who didn't know how close I'd come to speaking myself into something else's attention. I didn't use the tunnel again for a week. But here's the thing I need you to understand. When something answers you once, it doesn't forget how. On the 8th night, rain forced my route. Streets flooded, detours everywhere. The tunnel was the only way home. I stood at the entrance for a long time, listening. Silence, no footsteps, no echo. I whispered, barely audible, "I'm just passing through." The response came instantly, "We know." The footsteps followed me that night, and the next, and the next. Now they don't wait for the tunnel. Sometimes when I stop walking at home, when I stand too still in the kitchen or pause in the hallway, I hear them behind me, and if I don't move, neither do they. So here's my question for you, and I want you to really think before you answer it, even if you only answer in your head. When you walk somewhere alone and your footsteps echo, are you sure they're all yours?
My name is Leela Moreno. I'm saying it out loud because that feels important now. Names matter more than we like to admit. They're anchors, proof that we exist separately from everything else. At least, they're supposed to be. I moved into my apartment 3 years ago, a third-floor unit in a converted brick building near the river. Nothing special. Exposed pipes, thin walls, neighbors I recognized by footsteps instead of faces. The kind of place where privacy feels assumed rather than guaranteed. I live alone. No roommates, no pets, no overnight guests. I need you to understand that before I tell you what happened. The first time I heard my name, I was chopping onions. Just a normal evening. Windows cracked open, radio playing quietly, knife tapping the cutting board in that steady, comforting rhythm that keeps your thoughts from wandering too far. Leela. It came from the direction of the kitchen doorway. Not loud, not urgent, just familiar. The way someone says your name when they don't want to interrupt you. I didn't jump, didn't scream. I actually smiled. "Yeah?" I answered, still focused on the onions. No response. That's when I looked up. The hallway outside the kitchen was empty. Bathroom door closed. Bedroom dark. No movement, no shadows. I laughed under my breath and shook my head. Living alone does strange things to your sense of sound. You hear echoes where there are none. You mistake thoughts for voices. Every therapist will tell you that. But the thing that bothered me wasn't the voice. It was how natural it felt to respond. Have you ever answered someone before you realized they weren't actually there? That reflex stayed with me. The second time happened 2 days later. I was brushing my teeth, staring at my own tired reflection, thinking about work, about an email I'd forgotten to send. "You should do that now," the voice said. It came from behind me. I nearly choked on toothpaste. I spun around, heart slamming into my ribs. Nothing. I rinsed my mouth, breathing hard, palms braced against the sink. "This isn't funny," I said aloud, to the empty bathroom. A pause. Then, softly, almost apologetic, "I wasn't joking." My name wasn't used that time, and somehow that scared me more. I slept with the lights on that night. The next morning, I told myself it was stress, isolation, lack of sleep, All the usual explanations we reach for when something doesn't fit neatly into reality. I went to work, answered emails, smiled at coworkers, pretended nothing had followed me out of my apartment, but it had. At 11:43 a.m., while I was staring at my computer screen thinking about lunch, the voice whispered inside my head, "Turkey sandwich, you always regret the tuna." I dropped my pen. My coworker Jenna looked over. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said too quickly. "Just tired." But here's the part I haven't told anyone. The voice wasn't just speaking, it was anticipating. Every thought I tried to finish, it completed first, like it was reading from a script I hadn't seen yet. And it started using my name again. "Leela, don't forget your badge. Leela, you're going to miss your stop. Leela, lock the door." Always helpful, always correct. You might be wondering, why didn't I fight it? Why didn't I panic right away? Because it sounded like concern. Because when you've lived alone long enough, being noticed feels like comfort. Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. If a voice knew everything you forgot, would you really want it to leave? The turning point came a week later. I was lying in bed, lights off, staring at the ceiling fan turning slow circles above me. My thoughts were drifting, unfocused, tired, and I thought, very clearly, I should call my sister tomorrow. Before I could finish the thought, the voice said, "No, you don't need her." My chest tightened. "That's not true," I whispered. The voice responded instantly, "She makes you doubt yourself." I sat up. "I didn't ask you," I said. The silence that followed was heavy, thick, like the air itself was waiting to see what would happen next. Then, "You don't have to." That's when I realized something had changed. The voice wasn't reacting anymore, it was directing. Over the next few days, it started narrowing my world. "Stay in tonight. You're safer here. They don't really understand you. I do." It spoke less but with more certainty, like it was conserving energy. I tried ignoring it. Headphones, loud music, podcasts playing until I fell asleep. But even then, I could feel it. Not hearing, feeling. A pressure behind my thoughts. A presence just ahead of me, always half a step faster. One night, exhausted and shaking, I sat on my living room floor and asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Who are you?" For a long time, nothing answered. Then, slowly, carefully, "I'm the part of you that answers back." My skin crawled. "That doesn't make sense." Another pause. "It does if you stop pretending you're alone." I didn't sleep that night, or the next, because whenever I closed my eyes, I could feel breathing, matching mine perfectly, not louder, not softer, in sync. The fourth night, as I lay there staring into the dark, I thought, I can't live like this. The voice didn't wait. "Then don't." It said it gently, comfortingly. "You've done enough, Leela. You can rest." That was the moment I understood. It wasn't trying to scare me, it was trying to replace me. I remembered something my mother used to tell me when I was a child, back when night terrors still visited me. If you hear a voice inside you that isn't yours, say your name out loud. Remind it who you are. So I did. My voice shook, but I said it clearly. My name is Leela Moreno. The reaction was immediate. Not anger, laughter. Soft, warm, familiar. Only because I let you keep it. The lights flickered, the room went quiet, and in the black reflection of my turned-off television, I saw someone standing exactly where I should have been, smiling. I woke up on the floor the next morning. Everything looked normal, calm, silent. But now, sometimes, when people say my name, it takes a second longer for me to respond, because I'm not always sure which one of us they're calling. So tell me, just between you and the dark, have you ever heard your name and felt something answer before you did? Every story tonight began the same way. A voice, a thought, a question spoken aloud. And maybe that's the lesson.
Not everything that answers is meant to be heard. Not every silence is empty, and not every response is a coincidence. You've just listened to Mr. Haunting Whispers TV, where stories breathe in the dark and the quiet remembers who spoke first. If something felt closer tonight, don't worry, you invited it. Until the next whisper, keep your lights dim, your questions unasked, and your silence intact. Because some things don't haunt houses, they haunt conversations.
You've been listening to Mr. Haunting Whispers, where every truth leaves a scar. If the story unsettled you, good. That means you were listening. Subscribe and stay close to the dark, because the next whisper might be for you.